Waynesville, a peaceful small town, where for the past 60 years, there has never been a murder. But then, one fateful morning, Erin Ma's neighbors noticed something unusual. Water had been leaking from her apartment, unceasingly for days. When the door opened, silence fell. Erin lay there, motionless under a cold shower. At first, her death was ruled an accident. But as the police investigated, they uncovered chilling secrets: an abusive marriage, an unexpected insurance payout, and a possible premeditated plot. Sometimes, the most terrifying mysteries do not happen in dense forests or abandoned buildings, but right inside the most ordinary houses. Imagine, you live in a small apartment complex where everyone knows each other. One day, you notice something strange: water from the apartment next door is leaking onto the floor, day after day. You listen, trying to find a sign of life inside, but there is nothing but the cold sound of running water. The landlord gets the news. He calls Brent Williams, Erin Ma's husband, to ask for permission to check. But strangely, Brent did not answer. No matter how many times they called, the landlord finally had to ask Brent's father, and they decided to enter the apartment. The door opened. The apartment was eerily silent. They walked slowly inside. Everything seemed normal, except for a single sound that echoed throughout the house: the sound of running water from the bathroom. When the bathroom door was opened, they were stunned. Erin lay motionless under the faucet, her body cold. No one knew how long she had been there. The police arrived quickly. At first glance, there were no signs of a murder, no wounds, no signs of a struggle. They hypothesized that Erin might have had an accident, maybe alcohol, maybe illness. But, a strange hunch told them that the story was not that simple. They decided to investigate further. And immediately, they discovered a detail that could change everything. What makes the police suspect that this was more than just an accident? Where is Brent at this time? And most importantly, how did Erin die? Don't leave, because the next part will reveal the mystery behind this bathroom door. When Erin Ma's body was found in the bathroom, the police initially thought it was just an unnatural death, possibly caused by alcoholism or illness. But the deeper they dug, the more details they uncovered that couldn't be ignored. First, let's ask the question: how could someone lie dead in the bathroom for days without anyone noticing? The police spoke to Brent's father, who had been in the apartment 2 days earlier. He said that he and Brent had gone into the apartment to get something. They heard water running in the bathroom, but no one opened the door to check. Backhand index pointing right. Why didn't Brent check? If you heard water running continuously for days, would you be worried? If it was your wife, would you try calling her? But Brent didn't. He just grabbed his things and left. This made the police suspicious. And then, another important detail emerged: the last day Erin used his phone was July 5th, the day Brent said he texted her. The police immediately wanted to check Brent's phone to verify the text messages. But instead of cooperating, Brent refuses to hand over his phone. Why? Is he hiding something? In the meantime, the police start to dig deeper into the relationship between Brent and Erin. And what they discover only raises more suspicions. Backhand index pointing right. Erin has called the police multiple times because Brent is abusing her. Backhand index pointing right. She once said she was afraid of being beaten. Neighbors have heard loud arguments between the two. Is this really an accident? Or was it planned? The police still don't have enough evidence to conclude. But then, a major twist appears. What is the crucial piece of evidence that changes the whole case? Who is the prime suspect? And most importantly, what is the truth? Stay tuned for the next part. A murder case is not solved by just a hunch. The police need evidence, and up until now, everything is just suspicion. But then, a crucial witness appears, someone who can help them put all the missing pieces together. That person is Tiffany. An ordinary woman, but the special thing is that she dated Brent just a few days after Erin's death. What do you think about this? A man who just lost his wife, but just a few days later, he found a new relationship. There was no sign of grief, no trace of regret. And what Tiffany said made the police shiver. Backhand index pointing right, he talked about his wife's death so calmly, like it meant nothing. Brent did not cry, did not show any regret. Instead, he said he was expecting some money, Erin's life insurance. Backhand index pointing right, he said he had taken out a policy on her just over a month before she died. When the police checked, Tiffany's story was true. Brent had taken out a $25,000 policy on Erin just 5 weeks before she died. Now the story was clearer than ever. An abusive marriage. A wife trying to get away from her husband. And a husband, who planned to kill his wife for the insurance money. But to close the case, the police needed one last piece of evidence. And when the autopsy results came back, everything was clear. Backhand index pointing right, Erin didn't die in an accident. She was strangled to death. Now what? Do you think Brent is innocent? So what will the police do next? Can Brent escape justice? Don't miss the sequel. This will be the end of this dramatic case. The truth finally comes out. Erin Ma did not die in an accident. She was strangled. And no one but Brent Williams had a motive for it. So what's the next step? The police returned to Brent's house with a search warrant. But they are not welcomed. Brent's parents are furious, constantly questioning the police. Backhand index pointing right, why are you targeting my son? Backhand index pointing right, you don't have any evidence. But the reality says otherwise. Just think, if your wife disappeared for days, would you try to call her? Would you go looking for her? Brent didn't. When they checked Erin's phone, they found that Brent's last text message to her was on July 5th. And then, there was no more activity from her. What could that mean? Maybe Erin died shortly after that message was sent. The more they checked, the more they realized that Brent had never called his wife during the days she was missing. Does that make sense? No husband would ignore his wife's disappearance. Unless, he knew she was gone. The police had enough reason to arrest Brent Williams. But what they didn't expect was, how violently his family would react. What will Brent do when the police show up with handcuffs on his hands? Will he try to escape, or will he finally face justice? Don't leave, the final part will reveal everything. Finally, the police had enough evidence to arrest Brent Williams. But would he accept his fate, or would he try to escape? That day, the police knocked on Brent's door. His father opened the door, his eyes filled with anger. He immediately jumped into an argument. Backhand index pointing right, my son is innocent. You have nothing in your hands. But the police had enough evidence. Heavy checkmark, Erin was strangled to death. Heavy checkmark, Brent was the last person to contact her. Heavy checkmark, he had taken out life insurance just 5 weeks before she died. All of which led to one conclusion: Brent had killed his wife for money. But when the police read the arrest warrant, Brent did not resist. He did not run, he did not scream and claim innocence. He just stood there, head down, silent. Backhand index pointing right, Brent Williams, you are under arrest for murder. As the police led him to the car, his mother burst into tears. But not everyone mourned him. The neighbors stood watching, knowing that justice had been served. Brent was brought to court. But would he plead guilty? Or would he still try to deny it? And most importantly, what did Erin go through in her final moments? The answer will be in the final part. The atmosphere in the courtroom became tense and suffocating as the jury returned with its final verdict. No one said a word, all eyes were fixed on the judge. Brent Williams, the man who had once been confident that he could outwit everyone, could only bow his head and await his fate. Has the jury reached a verdict yet? The judge asked. A representative stood up, holding a blank piece of paper that had been officially stamped. The entire courtroom held its breath. Aaron's family sat there, their hands trembling as they clasped together. They had been waiting for this day for months. We find the defendant Brent Williams guilty of first-degree murder. The atmosphere exploded. Some burst into tears, some breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, justice had prevailed. But the man in the dock did not react at all. Brent stood still, his face stiff, as if he still couldn't believe it was over. The judge looked straight at him, his voice firm and solemn. Backhand index pointing right, defendant Brent Williams, the court sentences you to 15 years to life for murder. At that moment, Brent knew he had lost everything. Heartbreaking moments. Aaron's mother burst into tears, holding her face in her trembling hands. She had lost her daughter, and even though the perpetrator had paid the price, the pain in her heart could not be soothed. Aaron's father, although he did not shed tears, his eyes were filled with deep sadness. He turned to look at the photo of his daughter on the evidence table, a woman who was once full of life, but now only a memory. Was this the justice they expected? Perhaps, but that could not change the fact that Aaron Ma was gone forever. And Brent Williams? He has nothing left. The man who once viewed his wife as a commodity that could be converted into money now has to spend the rest of his life behind bars. He can't spend the insurance money he once expected. He can't live a life of freedom. All he has left is regret and loneliness. Lessons for life. Aaron Ma's story is not just a murder case, but also a warning to all of us. Light bulb domestic violence is something that cannot be ignored. Aaron spoke up. She tried to escape her painful marriage, but she didn't make it in time. If you or someone you know is in a similar situation, seek help immediately. Light bulb greed can make people lose their humanity. Brent no longer sees Aaron as his wife. In his eyes, she was just a $25,000 check he could cash. But he was wrong. Light bulb justice may come slowly, but it never goes away. Brent thought he could get away with it. He pretended to be a grieving husband, tried to cover up his crime. But the truth always wins out in the end. Backhand index pointing right. What do you think about this story? If you have something to share, leave a comment below. Backhand index pointing right. And if you don't want to miss out on other thrilling, engaging stories, hit the subscribe button now. Fire. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.